How's everybody doing? Gather around, say your hellos. Welcome, Wednesday, February 15th, the Minnesota Senate Human Services Committee. Members, I have decided to change our agenda order. If nobody opposes to that, what I'm thinking is Senate File 758, we'll start off with that. Then we'll go to Senate File 1044, and then we'll go to 1597 and 756. So it's the Senator Fateh and Senator Abeler Day here in our committee, and I think the discussion, we probably want to lay all these over, but there's one I want to have a conversation on because I didn't see a dollar amount there. And I'm wondering if we can just send that one by itself someplace, like to the floor. So in that, I want, if Mr. Monahan, if we could take a look, I don't know, I just am thinking now, possibly Senate File 1597. That's just what I'm thinking right here. So with that, Senator Fateh, you're going to have two bills in front of us. Senate File 758 is community residential settings, license requirements and modifications. Specifically, I believe we're going to get into the technology piece on this. And I do want to just make note that in the governor's budget proposal, there's a really good technology piece on there. And I'd like to maybe, hopefully, if the winds come our way and we're able to find some money, it would be nice to enhance that a little bit better. Nod, nod, wink, wink. But we have Sarah Grafston from ARM is here, and then Anna Heglin, thank you for being here. I really want us to focus on that technology piece as you present to us. And I'm recalling a long time ago, then State Representative Newton and State Representative Abeler and I got to see what things were happening in this beautiful town of Coon Rapids at Mary T. Inc. Remember, they were doing technology stuff. So I just want to welcome you, Senator Fateh, to the committee. And if you want to just tell us what about Senate File 758 is, I appreciate that. So welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I thought, Senator Hoffman, that every day was Fateh Day in this committee. But thank you so much.
It was Fateh Day last year in this, wasn't it? Yeah, yes. Go ahead.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, committee members. In front of you today is SF 758, a bill that removes an unnecessary requirement for a separate license for community residential service providers who want to support people using assistive technology during overnight hours. This bill is being brought forward by ARM, the Trade Association of Residential Services Providers, providing services to people with disabilities through the 4 disability waivers. ARM members know that utilizing all tools, including assistive technology, can solve not only service delivery needs, but also utilize the direct support professional staff in the most efficient way possible. We have all heard from our constituents about the crisis that is worsening by the day for individuals that access supports through a waiver service provider. With direct support professional vacancy rates exceeding 30%, providers are working week by week, day by day, to ensure that shifts are covered and that people are being supported safely. The language in front of you will remove an unnecessary requirement that providers obtain a separate license to support people utilizing different forms of assistive technology during the overnight hours. Our bill puts in place new requirements to ensure safety when providing assistive technology supports directly into 245D, that statute that regulates waiver providers. By doing this, we are removing a barrier of providers getting a separate license, streamlining processes, and supporting people in further independent living. Beyond the need to pay direct support professionals more to help overcome the chronic staffing shortage, we must also look for common sense fixes that break down barriers and allow creative, safe solutions to support people in the manner that they want to be supported. This bill does just that, and I ask for your support. And with that, I'll turn over to the testifier to tell you more about the proposal in front of you.
Thank you, Senator Fateh. And Ms. Grafstrom, please welcome to the committee, and Mike is yours.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Sarah Grafstrom. I am the Director of State and Federal Policy with ARM, an association dedicated to leading the advancement of home and community-based services and supporting over 130 residential service providers across the state. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Senate File 758, a bill that removes the requirement for providers to obtain a separate license or variance when supporting people through assistive technology during the overnight hours in a community residential setting, and instead inserts new remote overnight supervision language into 245D, the law governing the licensure of waiver service providers. The requirement of a separate license for alternative overnight supervision with technology, or AOST, went into place about 15 years ago, established by a small working group of both providers and department staff who were tasked with getting this new technology service off the ground. At that time, the utilization of technology to support people with disabilities was a new concept. Think about any piece of technology in your life and how it has changed in 15 years. We know that technology is a critical part of the services we provide to people with disabilities that can help promote independence and be a resource in a time of growing worker shortages. We have seen the use of technology grow and the technology available drastically improve, yet despite these changes and improvements, the requirements put in place over 15 years ago remain the same. I want to take a moment to share a success story that one of our members recently shared with me. At a home in northern Minnesota, 4 gentlemen have lived together for a few years, and they've had direct support staff for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The gentlemen were interested in being more independent, and the interdisciplinary team, or IDTs, and the men living in the home agreed to try using overnight remote supports. As the team worked to implement remote supports, it was felt that the on-site staff would need to come into the house at 7 a.m. so that the men could be assisted with waking up, getting breakfast, and getting ready for the day. This had always been something the staff supported the men with, and the team thought that they would continue to need this support first thing in the morning. Within the first week of remote supports for overnight being implemented, the men surprised the staff by getting up on their own, getting breakfast on their own, and helping each other when needed. In fact, the men in the home proceeded to tell the staff they had it covered and did not need help. The men proudly spoke about doing these tasks, and the morning staff reported that the guys were not only being more independent in their morning routines, but as they continued to use the remote supports, their confidence in being able to do things on their own grew. The men now proudly talk about having remote supports at night and enjoy showing new staff how the technology works and how they use it when needed. Expanding the use of AOST helps support further independence. I know this committee has heard about the catastrophic workforce crisis within disability services. We have over 30% of our DSP positions open, and providers are making difficult decisions every day to close or consolidate homes or reduce capacity in the homes they currently support. The use of remote supports in CRS homes has allowed providers to relocate existing staff to homes that need the staff in the house on the overnight. And in some cases, remote supports have helped homes remain open where, due to staffing shortage, they may have been in danger of closure. When we support increased independence through the use of technology, regardless of where the person lives, it means we are reducing reliance on caregivers. Expanding the use of AOST is a workforce solution. Requiring a separate AOST license is an unnecessary barrier to supporting people with assistive technology and is duplicative to other rules and regulations that providers must follow, including 245D, monitoring technology usage policies, and the department's federally approved remote support policy. The use of technology is an underused tool. Oh, I already said that. And removing this duplicative requirement will help expand the use of this service, promote independence, and relieve some of the pressures providers have in filling shifts, freeing up staff to provide important support services during the day. With that, I want to thank you again for the time this afternoon, and we are happy to answer any questions committee members have.
Thank you, Ms. Crafton. And then members, Anna, did you want to say a few words at all, or were you here just to be support? What's your?
I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. We've been operating this for almost all 15 years now, so if there are questions about how this works, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you. Members, any questions regarding assistive technology? The governor's budget has a really good assistive technology proposal, and I was excited to read about that. And thank you, Ms. Grafson, for talking about the fact that we have, it's 53,000, vacancies in the caregiver world, and there's not a lot of people that are applying for jobs, right? What other innovative things can we do? And this is the kind of thing we should be really focused on. And I know that Ms. Grom is here. I'm not going to call her down unless she wants to enhance, how to integrate, what we're talking about here and what the governor is doing and stuff. But I think that's it's really important that you guys are here doing that. I think we want to, this one we're going to lay over for possible inclusion. Isn't that what we want to do? Or do we want to send? No, this one we're going to lay over, I think. Members, any questions? No? Thank you for your time. Thank you for this. This bill will get laid over for possible inclusion and into our omnibuses. So, thank you. Senator Fateh, Josh Berg, John Sundergaard, and Zania Harut, I think, are going to be coming up next. Ooh, don't see Zania here, so oh, there she is in the back. All right, you can start working your way to the on deck circle there, or unless we can get another tree out there. Yeah, we can get. Do you want another chair? Let's get another chair out here if the page could, since it's. No, Josh has got it. Thanks, Josh Berg. So Senate File 1044, payment rates increase for customized living services provided under the brain injury waiver and the community access for disability inclusion waiver. Senator Fateh, I know we have a little time limitation on this one. I have a note here that Josh Berg only gets 30 seconds to explain things, but I don't know if that's I'm kidding. I'm glad you're laughing. So, Senator Fateh, do you want to give us a high brief about what Senate File 1044 does?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In 2021, Congress temporarily increased the federal medical assistance percentage, FMAP, the cost-sharing split for Medicaid, for home and community-based services in an attempt to provide an additional support to a broad variety of essential service providers struggling with the costs of COVID-19. The Minnesota legislature responded by taking the hundreds of millions of dollars in additional federal money and making substantive increases in the medical assistance reimbursement rates for nearly every kind of home and community-based service provider. Customized living providers serving individuals with disabilities on the buy and caddy waivers were left behind and expressly excluded from any increase in reimbursement. The decision had a disproportionate impact on BIPOC-owned customized living providers seeking to provide culturally specific residential services to members of their own community. Being excluded from the 2021 rate increases was particularly detrimental to these providers, as they were not only struggling to respond to COVID-19, but they were also in the process of becoming licensed as assisted living providers and working to meet a series of regulatory requirements never intended for the single-family settings where most of them were serving their clients. Senate File 1044 is a small first step to addressing the crisis, as it would provide customized living providers serving individuals on the caddy and buy waivers the same rate increase that providers serving individuals on the EW waiver received 2 years ago. And with that, I'll pass it over to the first testifier.
Thank you, Senator Fateh. Any questions for our author? No. Mr. Josh Berg, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Josh Berg. I work for an organization called Accessible Space based here in St. Paul. Knowing what the chair's preference is for testifying to, I wanted to talk about the why behind the importance of this bill and maybe several others that will be heard over the next few months. But, the first why that I wanted to talk about was clearly our residents and the residents that live in these settings. So ASI provides customized living services in 3 locations, 2 in Minneapolis, 1 in Grand Rapids. And they serve folks that have been living there, some for a very long time. The average age of our clients in these settings is 58 years old. They're kind of in that middle age group of not under 55 in the cool kids group that it gets to be involved in all the Caddy BI stuff of the future, and they're not old enough to be in EW in the over 65. So they're in that decade of in between for a lot of services that are provided here in the state. Diagnoses range from cerebral palsy to acquired traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, MS, and other disabilities. Over 80% of our residents are wheelchair bound and require assistance with mobility transfers and help with most, if not all, ADLs. The average length of residence in these settings, just these 3 settings, is about 14 and a half years. And it goes as long as 42.4 years. It's our longest resident, and she has been on the board of ASI since 1989, and she helped open up 28th Street in Minneapolis. 50% of our residents have been in these settings for over 11 years, and over 25% have been there for over 30 years. So these are folks that have been living in their home in these communities for decades. So, like I said, 28th, Camden, and Moses, a couple here in Minneapolis, and one up north in Grand Rapids. These settings are small residential-like homes. They're side-by-side homes. If I can paint the picture, there's 6 units, 6 bedrooms, shared living space in the middle, shared kitchen, couple wheelchair accessible bathrooms with roll-in showers. And as we went through the attestation process a few years ago, checked all the boxes of all the HCBS settings rule and compliance for all of that. They have access to staff 24/7, 365, including nursing support that is, directing and supervising all the staff providing these services. One last note about these settings too is they're all HUD settings. So they were all developed under some sort of HUD program and require that these folks moving into these settings meet all the HUD eligibility requirements from a financial requirement, and because they were funded under the 811 program, require permanent physical disability to be able to actually live there. And so residents in these settings pay only 30% of their adjusted gross income, and that includes their utilities and everything else. So it's a beautiful model for the folks that we serve, very low, extremely low income folks with disabilities, and really speaks to how important these settings are in the continuum of healthcare. These settings are truly, if we're looking at it from a financial standpoint, a cost savings to the system. What I can do or we can do to support individuals living here with very high complex medical needs, we can do at a fraction of the cost of ICFs, SNFs, and hospitals. Our average daily rate for an individual in one of these settings is under $200 a day, and we can serve folks with all sorts of medical and health needs. So I guess I would just urge you to consider this small step. It certainly is. It's not going to fix anything in the grand scheme of things. It may not do a whole heck of a lot to save anything. Just to put things in perspective, these 3 sites in the last 3 months have lost about $350,000. So, expound that out throughout the year. We're looking at $1 million loss just for these 3 sites alone. And it comes with a lot of different reasons, but the rates are certainly one of them. Let's see. I know that, and most folks in this room know that customized living services for folks under 55 is basically going away. It's being squeezed out and transitioned to something else, whether that's ICS, the integrated community supports, CRS settings and whatnot. So really, I see this as even an interim fix to help us get through this transition period of Waiver Reimagine Phase 2 and buying us some time to keep these settings alive, essentially, until we can find out what our permanent long-term solution is going to be able to continue to serve folks in these settings. This language in this proposal, it's not going to help those private pay organizations and those providers that you might see giving away cars, doing $5,000 to $10,000 hiring bonuses, and doing all this stuff to attract staff. I mean, we are truly serving a different population of folks based on our mission and wanting to serve the lowest income and those folks with disabilities in these types of settings. So this money and these rates are going to go to rate increases or wage increases for our staff, if at all possible, if it goes through. Now, I'm of the cynical sense of, it's going to get laid over and it's going to get, possibly included. I just, I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it, if it actually gets included in something moving forward. This is a small chunk compared to some of the other proposals you might hear, but it's a small chunk that could have a tremendous impact on the 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 folks that are being served in these kind of settings. So I urge you to consider this along with some of the other bills that look at UWRS, the cost factors, potentially putting caps on the price gouging of SNSAs and other language that you might see coming forward here. And I would take the moment to thank DHS and the team for being great partners in trying to problem solve and look at different solutions when it comes to these specific settings. The department's been great to work with and providing some good TA on potentially some other fixes related to these customized living settings. So like I said, I'm optimistic and hopeful that this can go through. We'll see if it actually happens. So.
Mr. Berg, thank you. And thank you. The visually see, you did the 55 and under, the 65 to 55. It's like, there's it puts it in visual just where some of those gaps are and what we need to be doing. And I know when we're talking about customized living that, the customized living standards don't have anything to do with the waiver reimagined side of it, but what within that articulated conversation is something that we should be looking at to enhancing it. And I was just asking Kevin and Senator Abeler, there's some policy changes that I thought that was going to be part of this conversation, but it's not. So I mean, we're still on those ongoing, and it brings me joy to hear, you give a shout out to the department is. I mean, the folks that work at the department really provide a high level of TA, and hats off to Matt Burdick and his team, Christy Grom, and the folks that work under. I wish I should have their whole list of names just so we can start calling them out, but I do appreciate hearing that from you, and thank you for your testimony. So thank you. And any questions for Mr. Berg? Seeing none. John Sundergaard, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. John Sondergaard. I am the owner of the Lodges Company. Please bear with me. I've not done anything like this before. So we've customized living settings in Mendota Heights, Burnsville, Elko, Eden Prairie, and in your district, Mr. Chair, in Brooklyn Park. Mm-hmm. I'm here today to support Senate File 1044 that Senator Fateh has brought forward. And I'll talk to you about three things. The first is our residents, the second is our staff, and the third is our business. Let's start with residents, the reason we're all here. Our residents are people who require two-person transfers. Many of our residents require ceiling lifts. Many are para and quadriplegic and rely on staff to do everything physically for them every day. Across our customized living settings, we have capacity for 93 residents. Almost all are on CADI or BI waivers. The few that are not on CADI or BI are on EW. All of our residents are dependent on the generosity of the taxpayers of the state of Minnesota to provide their housing and care. 95% of our residents are under 65. A vast majority of them require heavy emotional care in addition to the physical care that we provide. Due to staffing issues, there have been many times we have not been able to accept admissions in any of our locations due to staffing issues. And in 2022, for our Brooklyn Park location, that was a majority of the year. We weren't able to accept any of the calls that we received for admission. The residents we serve come from one of three places: the hospital, nursing homes, and rehabilitation facilities like Courage Center in Golden Valley. Our model saves the taxpayers money, like Josh explained earlier. Next, I'd like to talk to you about our staff. During COVID, my coworkers were called essential and heroes, which they are. The majority of the staff in our homes are BIPOC. Most live in poverty, working multiple jobs and struggling to buy a dozen eggs. They are burned out, turning over, and have left our settings to go to another industry, or in many occasions, go work for private pay providers, and our residents are being left behind. For example, at one of our homes last spring, So last spring, we had staff coming in after seeing ads on job boards for the newly constructed assisted living down the street from one of our locations who was advertising starting pay at $25 an hour last spring. Some of our staff made the choice to leave, and our residents, the ones who are on waivers, were left behind. I asked myself, who's going to serve the disabled poor going forward? The rate increases at private pay assisted livings have been highlighted in the Star Tribune and other newspapers, and the private pay market can and will continue to pass that cost along to pay staff what they, to pay them appropriately. Our waiver clients are being left behind. CADI and BI rates for customized living settings have been stagnant for 2 years, and the staff and the residents, the people we serve, are being left behind. In 2022, we had and still continue to have our non-caregiver staff working the floor. I myself have worked many shifts on the floor alongside the director of nursing and other managers to make sure our residents get the care they need and what they count on every day. One of the most unspoken people in our health system right now is the directors of nursing who are managing all the care of our residents and the burnout they are going through as they try to meet the rules and regulations, but also jump in, do cares, pass meds, give showers, and make meals. Our DON Nirma, who would have been here today to give her testimony, but she had a family health issue come up. She is truly a nurse at work, working the floor, doing the rules and regulations, and then going home and being a caregiver as well. Our managers in their job duties are supposed to be doing recruiting, interviewing, onboarding new staff, working with the new employees to support them as they onboard, do care conferences with clients, work with case managers, and have time to spend with residents and families in a non-caregiver role. All of those things that they're supposed to be doing are at risk because they don't have the capacity to do them. This is a vicious cycle. Lastly, I'd like to talk about how all this ties into our business. In 2020 and 2021, this body, the governor, the House, and the federal government jumped in to support our business and many others in our industry, including PPP, provider support, and others, which really got through 20 and 2021. Those funds kept us afloat for lockdowns, overtime, PPE, and increased need for supplies. We would not be here today without that support, and on behalf of our residents and staff, thank you very much. Last spring, we were hopeful that the permanent support to fund CADI and BI waivers for customized living would get fixed, or would be passed to fix the business model. In April of 2022, like many other providers, we had to make the decision to stay at this business and hope the funding would come or start make other plans. We decided that staying in the business of serving CADI and BI is our mission and made wage increases. Our reimbursement hasn't changed. When the funding didn't pass last spring, that was a punch in the gut. In 2022, I took out and personally guaranteed the maximum amount I qualified for in a government-assisted economic disaster loan to help as a backstop just in case. For the last 10 months, we've been taking money out of that loan at a rate of $40,000 per month to cover payroll. It's gut-wrenching to watch that account dwindle. Obviously, that is not a decision I can continue to make. This is unsustainable, and I will likely be forced to change my business model and no longer provide housing and services to the people I presently serve. This bill would cover the increases we made last spring, and our biggest concern is what this industry looks like going forward without something permanent in place with rates so that we can pay our staff so they can show up. I'll wrap up by saying thank you for your time. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very open to discussing with anybody here or at the department some solutions. I'm thankful you're discussing this issue, and please support this file that Senator Fateh brought forward. Thank you, and I'm sorry if that was a little bit long.
It was not long at all. You did a great job, Mr. Sondergaard. You kept to your points. I appreciate that. Members? Seeing none, if you guys want to make a little room for Ms. Harut.
Are you tired of me yet?
Nope. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you. So good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Senators. I'm Zania Harut. I'm a registered nurse and the Director of Nursing of Affinity Residential Care. I'm also the board chair of Residential Providers Association of Minnesota, otherwise known as RPAMN. So I'm here representing over 200 culturally specific customized living providers. I spoke before this committee previously about how the 2009 adult foster care moratorium and the assisted living licensure law combined, both of those caught many of us in an unsustainable regulatory space. I also talked about how customized living settings serving individuals on the CADI and BI waivers were the only disability service providers excluded from the rate increases the legislature passed with the help of federal funds in 2021. I cannot emphasize the negative impact that the budget decision had on our members and the communities that we serve. As introduced, Senate File 1044 would be the first small step towards supporting the culturally specific customized living providers serving individuals on the CADI and BI waivers who were left behind in 2021. And this would be providing the same rate increases that providers serving elderly waiver individuals had. So we sincerely hope that the more market-reactive rate increases contained in Senate File 7 or other proposals before this legislature will be considered as this committee puts together its budget proposal. State investment in the sustainability of all customized living providers is essential to preventing the looming collapse of the provider community and unfathomable disruptions for the vulnerable populations we serve. I can agree with everything the previous gentleman was saying. Many of our providers have been financing the services in these homes out of their own pockets and savings. Furthermore, I want to note that even the increases here will fail to account for the numerous regulatory requirements imposed on us in the single-family residential settings. We were required to become assisted living facilities. However, the rate structure did not follow or keep up with the requirements that we had. Today, we're struggling to recruit and retain staff while also meeting licensing standards for which we're not being reimbursed for. While the hospitals are over capacity, many providers are unable to take new admissions due to financial restraints. I cannot stress the urgency of the rate increases for the customized living providers serving individuals with disabilities. Each month we have to wait, more homes will close, more lives will be disrupted, and absent the support from the legislature, RPMN's members will continue to fail, leaving thousands of Minnesotans here without the ability to receive support from providers of their own communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harut. I remember meeting you the first time when then Senator Abeler's last committee hearing as chair of this committee last session, and just how, you know, all the information and awareness that was there, and I just want to say thank you for keeping on point and keeping us driving down that road to say, all right, where did we not get this right? And so and you keeping us in there and keep pointing it out. And what really I keep going on is the majority of those customized living homes are Hennepin County, and the majority are BIPOC. That we know this is culturally specific. It's like there's got to be a win-win here someplace. There's, you know, you got the rules set by CMS, you got the rules set, we got the rules by the Fed, but where is there a way to create some flexibility so we're addressing the unique and individualized needs of the person that's supposed to be receiving services, right? Where's the discussion of informed choice within this piece, right? And those are just questions to throw out, and I thank you for keeping us on topic on that. So any questions for Ms. Harut? Senator Fateh, what's your pleasure on the disposition of this?
No, thank you so much. Nothing more. It's just the testifier spoke to it better than I can. You heard their experiences, and I hope to get support from the committee.
I think so. I think we're going to lay this one over as well because there's a couple of pieces also moving within this genre of the 144G, 245A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all that, right? I mean, there's this discussion on customized living, assisted living, right? I mean, this is all one little big bucket. Maybe we can create a mini omnibus just on that. I don't know, but thank you for your time on this, members. Senator Abeler, you got Senate File 1597. We got PCA Driving. Jeff Bangsberg is here, and Jillian Nelson. Thank you. Thank you, Morgan, for bringing that in. And
week together.
so, Senator Abeler, 30 years ago, I was at a meeting. Was at a meeting 30 years ago. There was about 100 people in this room, and I believe there was another person or two in this room that were at that meeting as well. And an individual was given this presentation, and this individual was a very polished bureaucrat, right? Who started throwing out these TLAs. And if you don't know what a TLA is, TLA is an acronym for a 3-letter acronym, right? So they were throwing these TLAs and that is funny, these 4LAs out there, right? And honest to God, Jim, so here I come from my education background. If you want to get in the weeds on any public law that has to deal with any education, I'll go there, right? I did not understand the 40-some pages of acronyms in the human services world. And I'm sitting there listening to this person rattle off these acronyms, and of course I had no idea what these acronyms were. And I was like feeling this sense of anxiety about, well, I wonder if I'm the only one who doesn't understand this, is what I thought. And all of a sudden this gentleman to the left of you stops the presenter midpoint and starts to point out these A, B, C, D, E, F, Gs. You know, there's people in this room that don't understand what those TLAs are. And it was just hilarious how Mr. Bangsberg, but my point is this, Senator Abeler, he gave me permission 30 years ago to be able to stop people if they're doing TLAs and say, hey, wait a minute, can you please explain what your TLA is, and that speak. So it's such a cool thing to see Bangsberg here with you. So Senator Abeler, you want to talk about PCA driving? I thought we fixed this last year. What's up?
WTG, Mr. Chair. Way to go. You know, it's like deja vu all over again, Mr. Chair, and Senate File 1597 is attempting to still handle the most reasonable idea we have some pretty good ideas. Some are like really? And so, you know, if the PCA has got a car or the client has a car and they want to go somewhere and buy some socks, it seems like, why don't you just get in the car and go buy the socks? Mr. Chair, this is the go buy some socks bill. And we thought we had it squared away. There was a delay in the implementation of the CFSS thing, which was supposed to be imminent. And no ill intent on the part of the department. This stuff takes longer, and so we put it off. And they said, well, there's no reason to put it in force for 2 months because it's going to happen like, Mr. Chair, do you remember Popeye and Wimpy, and he's going to pay for a hamburger on Tuesday? So that just shows how old I am. Anyway, so the Tuesday never comes, and he just gets his hamburger, and so for free apparently. But oh, that's good. I got you on that one.
You did.
You have to watch Popeye,
I was trying to grab, like Senator Sharon used to say, I'm trying to understand the essence of that statement, but now I got it. You're
I
good.
understood entirely.
Yeah, very good. The historical studier next to me. Anyway, so Mr. Chair, we thought this was done. We thought it was imminent to get done.
Yeah.
And it's not. And so, Mr. Bangsberg, I could drag it up. That would just delay his good presentation. So with that, I have two presenters who can tell you all about it.
Do you want to go Ms. Nelson first?
Hello, Chair Hoffman and the committee. I'm Jillian Nelson with the Autism Society of Minnesota and an autistic adult. I have to say I recognize that Popeye reference because I grew up with my stepfather as a PCA, and he used to take me to work with him, and I would sit on the couch of actually one of Jeff's good friends, and I would watch morning cartoons while my dad got Dennis Straw off to work every day. But today, I am here to talk to you about Senate File 1597, which would change personal care assistance to allow driving as an instrumental activity of daily living. I have a personal care attendant, 3 of them actually, PCAs. This surprises a lot of people because it's often thought that PCAs exist to help people get out of bed or with bathing or with physical mobility needs. In my case, my staff is tasked with supporting me in my home, but also in my community. Autism comes with a lot of anxiety, and anxiety can present as behaviors. And they monitor my behaviors and help me manage that anxiety so I can be safe and accomplish the things I need to, so I can live a fully inclusive life and reach my goals. They go with me to the grocery store, the gym, community events, doctor's appointments, and more. Sometimes you can even find them here with me. But they can't drive me while they're working. I drive us, or they meet me where we're going. Last summer, we attended a festival. I love art, and I love food trucks, and I really wanted to experience this celebration. It didn't work. It was too much. I had a complete autistic meltdown, and I needed to be gotten out of that situation very quickly. Thankfully, my PCAs were with me, and they got me safely back to the vehicle. And then we sat there in July for 2 hours in my car in the heat. Well, I calmed down enough to be able to safely drive because my PCAs could not legally drive me while working. Simply put, this is ridiculous. I am lucky. I can drive myself and my PCA, most of the time anyway. But what about those that can't? Most people with autism don't qualify for Metro Mobility, and on a bad day, public transportation is a sensory nightmare. Or what about children with disabilities that have PCAs? 8-year-olds clearly cannot drive themselves. For many people on the autism spectrum disorder, PCAs are there as a behavioral support, and the places that support is needed the most is in the community. DHS defines PCA services' purpose to help people with day-to-day activities in their home and in their community, like buying socks. And the Minnesota Choice Assessment goes beyond activities of daily living and includes instrumental activities of daily living, such as accompany to medical appointments, out in the community, assist with paying bills, complete household tasks related to ADL needs, like plan and prepare meals and shop for food and clothing and other essential items. It also addresses behavioral supports. And so many of these needs take place outside of our home. We need this mechanism that allows PCs to assist us outside of the home, regardless of our own driving status. Changes to the statute to allow PCs to drive is necessary for the state to continue alignment with the Olmstead Plan. The Olmstead Plan guarantees me the right to receive services in the least restrictive environment. That least restrictive environment is my community. Thank you for your time and your support today. And as always, it's a privilege to be here with you.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, and thank you for the reminder about the Olmstead Plan that Minnesota put together based on a 1998 Supreme Court decision, and I appreciate hearing from you. Mr. Bangsberg, well, first of all, any questions for Ms. Nelson? Nope. Mr. Bangsberg.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Hold on, Jeff. I don't think our Radio Shack microphone is working. Can somebody maybe get some technical assistance on that thing?
Mr. Chair Hoffman, members of the committee, my name is Jeff Bangsberg, and I'm a disability advocate from New Hope, Minnesota. And just for a point of reference, Mr. Chair, CFSS stands for Community First Services and Supports.
Mr. Bangsberg, thank you for taking care of that TLA.
And I'm here today to speak in favor of Senate File 1597. And in all of your handouts, you should have a letter from Ted Stamp from Marshall, Minnesota. He testified here a couple of years ago and testified virtually last year. And I don't know if you remember Senator Matthews, but you helped us introduce this bill about 4 years ago before I think we had to shut down. We were very fortunate to see this in the negotiations, and we are very thankful of Ms. Christy Grom and her help to get this in the final deal. It was part of the CFSS deal, Community First Services and Supports, and which is a large bureaucratic process that we thought was going to take into effect a couple of years ago. This program was passed 10 years ago. They've been trying to get it implemented for a number of years, diligently for the last 2 years. We were told we were going to see it 2 years ago. We're told now that we're going to see it kick in April. If that happens, it's still going to take another 12 months or more for it to finally kick in across the board for all clients that are eligible to receive personal care services. And so I'm asking, and so I'm thinking it's built into the forecast and it's part of the department's budget. But apparently there might be some extra money needed to implement the bill, even though I thought that was built into the fiscal note. So we've asked Representative or Senator Hoffman, we've asked the House to expedite the billing the passing, and we've had it heard in both the policy and the finance committee already in the House, and they're trying to see about getting it done over there on the floor, but there's some kind of glitch. They need an amendment. We're unsure about what it is, but they're going to try to see if they can run it up the flagpole as soon as possible to get this done. And we do have full bipartisan support on this bill in both houses.
Yep.
And everybody thinks this is a very important thing to get done sooner than later.
So it's sitting in, thank you, Mr. Bangsberg. It's sitting in finance over in the House right now, right, Senator Abeler?
Ways and Means.
Yeah, it's Ways and Means.
It passed finance
did?
yesterday.
So it's sitting there in the Ways and Means. Ms. Bailey, can we ask you a question? Is that fair? Here she comes. Yay.
Keep Jeff here. You can just, that's good. You can sit down again.
So
Thank you,
There you go.
thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
So there's a rolling implementation of CFSS, right? I mean, and I know that the timelines on that, but what Mr. Bangsberg is bringing up is there's still a concern that the PCA, there's going to be some kind of fiscal note attached. Now, DHS already, I guess the term bakes it into their thing. Did I use that right? Because I played a CPA one time, but I never, So what, help us that is funny, but she could probably explain it better than anybody in this room. So what Mr. Bangsberg's saying, can you help us understand, that part of it and how, with that rolling implementation of CFSS, those on PCA, should be able to get funded still for that driving piece. Does that make sense?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the record, Elise Bailey, Budget Director for DHS. Yes, that is correct in that when CFSS is implemented, it will be implemented on a rolling basis, and so some of the population, some of the people will still be on PCA throughout the year that CFSS is implemented. The previous law that added transportation as part of an IDL that can be paid for under PCA was only added to CFSS at that time. And so any potential bill adding it to PCA would have a cost.
Okay, that explains it. Senator Abeler?
Well, thanks. And thanks to Senator Matthews. I was going to mention that too. So I really appreciate the groundwork. And so far, we've all been pretty ineffective, Mr. Chair. So we're trying again here. Another push up the hill, push this rock up the hill. And it may well be that part of the $1.825 billion in DHS FMAP and underspending may actually have included some of this money, because I think it was in the budget at one point, and then they keep rolling it forward. And
So, Ms.
I knew that
Bailey-
would probably get your attention, Mr. Chair.
She was shaking her head, yes, Senator Abeler. So yeah, the answer is that she wasn't shaking the 1.825, but somehow it was in there. Do you remember what that cost was?
Mr. Chair, I don't remember the cost of the bill in 2021,
Yeah.
but Senator Abeler is correct in that we funded the cost as if it would have been implemented at the timeline that we knew at that point in time. Because it's a forecast program, we update the forecast according to how we're actually implementing the program. And so, yes, those funds had been lost.
Mr. Chair, the money drops out of our spending that we agreed to the bottom line.
The bottom line.
So
So
we
it
can,
was in
do
there.
tax
So this is not, you'll be able to pull that out for us. So I'm wondering if it makes sense. Senator Matthews, thank you. I mean, this was last year. Thank you. And it's still here. And I think we should be able to do this. I'm wondering if it makes sense, Senator Abeler, Senator Matthews, Senator Mitchell, team here, if we send it to finance like we have before, and then does that give enough time to really look at fixing that gap in here? I don't know.
Mr. Just so you know, under the budget rules, you have to pay for it again. So we paid for it a couple times. Senator Matthews worked to pay for it. I paid for it. you get to pay for it. You know, Mr. Monahan is gonna, whoever is gonna, whatever.
So is Miss Bailey, is this going to be like triple? Is this going to be like, you know, when you add it, does that, do you get to?
Yes, Chair Hoffman, you have to pay for it.
Mr. Chair, there was a 10% restocking fee each time.
you guys are so bad.
You gotta pay for the department staff, so.
No, no. Well, I think we should just, I don't know, does it make sense in this bill to?
I'm willing to move it, Mr. Chair, if you'd like to. So are we through testifying? Any more questions about it?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Bangsberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Miss Bailey, by the way. I appreciate you being here. You can stay, I mean, if you can, yeah.
And I did have fiscal note from last year. I gave it to Senator Abeler yesterday. I should have probably hung on to it. But I believe it was about $1 million to implement it for the,
You can say that.
what was it?
She wants to say the number. She's
Yeah,
like,
Mr. Chair, it was about 1.7 million at that time.
At
Now,
that
of
time.
course, now, there's different timelines and different forecast base, and so don't hold me to that, but that's what it was last year.
No, that's, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chair, the reason it costs money
Yeah.
is because the people can't get staff to fill out the amount of hours they've been allocated based upon min choices, and that's supposed to be funny, and the interaction with people's need determination.
Yeah.
And so they're allocated 40 hours a week. They can use 30,
Okay.
which is paid for,
Yeah.
except that they guess how much they're not going to pay for. And so if they actually would pay for all the 40, it would cost us money out of the
Got it.
formula.
That makes
So we
sense.
have to pay for it.
It
So
looks like Mr.
it's-
Bangsberg wants to add to that, Jim, so.
That might have been his joke, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
No, Mr. Chair, the bottom line is we really like to get these personal care assistants in compliance with being able to drive
Yep.
their clients as soon as possible.
Oh, I'm with you, Jeff, on that. So, Ms. Nelson.
I was reminded in sitting here of something you had said yesterday at the Disability Day in the Capitol, that a good portion of that money that is sitting on the table now is money that was not spent by our community, by services that went unserved.
Yep.
Like this money that was allocated to these 2 years is sitting there now. So
You just validated. See, Senator Abeler, so my whole argument has been that there's this money, and I would love to be able to redirect money. Let DHS spend, I mean, right? I mean, that's that piece of it, and this just validates. I want to send this to Senator Marty's committee and try to get the funding to it. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't know. Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would support that. And hearing Senator Abeler's description, I didn't realize how many times this has been tried, and I'm having flashbacks as I'm hearing this bill going, I thought I heard this or was involved in this somehow. Mr. Chair, it seems like we're kicking the vending machine because we keep putting our quarters in and our beverage of choice hasn't come down yet for us to access. So let's send it to Senator Marty and see if we can get a sufficient kick to this vending machine. Get it across the finish line.
So, Mr. Chair, and just asking Ms. Bailey here, it will still take 3 or 4 months to get this through the state plan amendment, but at least if we get the start button going. Anyway, so, Mr. Chair, I would move that Senate File 1597 be recommended to pass and be referred to the Committee on Finance.
So Senator Abeler is recommending that we Senate file, I'm sorry, it's 1597 be passed and sent to finance. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
You okay with that?
You good? You okay?
Mr. Bangsworth thinks it's a good idea.
Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Ms. Bailey, does that work? Well,
Yes.
Yeah, you're good. All right, that's right. All right, members, all the members favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Yeah, no problem.
Good to go. Send it to Marty, Senator Marty. That's number 4 we sent him. He's gonna, if he's listening to this, Senator Marty, let's act on that, right? No, I appreciate it. Senator Abeler, thank you, everybody, for testifying. Thank you, Ms. Bailey, for offering your expertise on that. I'm so glad you're here. Senate File 756, Senator Abeler, your intermediate care facilities for persons with developmental disabilities payment rates modification. You got Sarah Grafstrom, Tom Gillespie, and I think Rod Carlson is also here too, right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the nothing new under the sun bill. We passed this, I think, as part of our whatever number we had last year. This is about ICF rates, intermediate care facility rates. It's kind of a declining business. There aren't a lot of new ones coming, about 900 people left in here. Some are large, some are small. It's one of the last big facility places around in some cases, but the clients are very happy there. They're accustomed to it. Serves their purposes. And because they're such a small sector and they don't get the DWRS rates, they have been left out of most rate increases except for ones that we randomly happen to give them over the years. And I do not know how they stay open. I have heard, I don't know, in my time, I don't know how many testimonies we've heard from places as one-off. Can you help our ICF? And they tell us the rates, and it's like, you can actually operate for that. Wow. Anyway, so what this bill does, again, Mr. Chair, it's in essence very similar to last year's, is it gives a $50 increase per day to every place, whatever they're getting, and then it creates a floor of $300 for Class A facilities and $400 for Class B facilities. As I understand, Class Bs are more complex. And so I could talk longer, but I'm out of things to say. So although I just be repeating myself again, so I have amazing testifiers, and we'll let them go after. But this is absolutely something that we need to do. And I believe it's part of Senate File 7, is it maybe?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it is. I believe this isn't, yes, it's, yeah. It's
anyway, but it's good to call attention to it just so members can hear about it and maybe, and I don't think this can go to finance today, but I wish it could. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wishes can happen. Sarah, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon again, Mr. Committee members. For the record, my name is Sarah Grafstrom, and I'm the Director of State and Federal Policy with ARM. And thank you for the opportunity to present Senate File 756, which would provide daily rate increases for the 131 ICFs across the state. As you've all heard many times, ICF services are experiencing the same workforce crisis that we are seeing across all caring professions. In ARM's most recent industry survey, our members reported an average vacancy rate of 30% for their direct support professional positions, with some reporting as high as 40%. Our members reported a turnover rate of nearly 45% with two-thirds of DSPs leaving within the first year of employment. These striking statistics are in no doubt due to the low wages our providers can pay, with an average wage of a little over $15 an hour. ICF reimbursement rates, as Senator Abeler stated, are not part of the disability waiver rate system. Rates for ICF services were set in the early 2000s and require legislative action for any kind of adjustment or increase. Over the years, rates have remained mainly stagnant, with the most recent adjustment being approved by the legislature in 2021 at 5%. Prior to that, rates had not been increased since 2014. It's important to note that while rates for ICFs are not part of the DWRS, most ICF providers also provide waiver services. This results in staff working in both ICF and waiver homes, and when rates are increased through the DWRS and providers can provide a wage increase for their DSPs, they do so across the board. This results in a funding gap for their ICF services. The legislation in front of you today would provide critical funding for providers to recruit and retain staff through much-needed wage increases. As Senator Abeler already stated, Senate File 756 proposes a $50 a day operating payment increase and creates a new rate floor of $300 a day for Class A, which are homes that are defined as supporting individuals who are ambulatory or mobile and can take action for self-preservation under emergency conditions, and $400 a day for Class B facilities, which are homes that support individuals not capable of taking appropriate action for self-preservation under emergency conditions. The bill directs the commissioner to first increase payment rates by $50. After that increase, ICFs that are still below the new rate floor would have their rates brought up to the floor. Approximately 18 Class A ICFs and 66 Class B ICFs would be impacted by the rate floor. The remaining 47 ICFs would be above the floor and only access the rate increase. With that, I'm happy to turn it over to Tom sorry, Tom, I do this every time. Tom Gillespie, who can probably pronounce his name correct. I got it. From Living Well, as well as Rod Carlson from Living Well to talk about some real-world critical needs. So,
Tom Gillespie, welcome to the committee.
I'm not sure which of these to speak into. I'll just kind of do both. But, yeah. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for having me today. For the record, my name's Tom Gillespie. I'm the president and CEO at Living Well Disability Services. We're a nonprofit provider based in Mendota Heights, but we really span the entire metro. And we exist to transform the lives of people impacted by disabilities. I appreciate the opportunity to present today and help move forward with this critical piece of support for people with disabilities and their networks. For those of you who are less familiar, and Sarah's covered a bit of this, but intermediate care facilities, so that's one of those TLAs, as you mentioned. Intermediate care facilities served as society's first step away from large institutions. They were an innovative and critical first step that took us from sites that were serving hundreds of people in one location and took us out into communities in smaller settings. They were innovative at the time, they were critical at the time, and they still are today. They're all sites where people who require more medically intense services can live in community-based settings that they deserve while still receiving the medical supports and more intensive care that they need. As Senator Abeler mentioned, they are sort of known as a bit of a relic, I suppose, because of that, because they came sort of right after the institutions. But on average in Minnesota, the average capacity is just over 6 people. So we're not talking large institutions. We're not talking dozens of people like we maybe would have been a decade or two ago. We're talking homes for 6 people. And if I would invite, I think I have invited all of you to come to one of our homes. If I haven't, I'm doing so now. If I brought you to a waivered home and an ICF, you would not be able to tell the difference. That's how we run them. That's how we choose to do that. But you would not be able to tell the difference other than counting the number of people who live in that home. Otherwise, it's a house just like yours or mine. Okay, that's important to note. And while their shape and size have evolved, their critical role has not. ICFs have, in our recent history in our state, served as almost a barrier-free entry into our services system. There is no waiver required. So in the recent days of having waiting lists with dozens, if not hundreds of people on them, people were able to get into an ICF with little, lead work. Important to note. As our population of people with disabilities in the state ages, more people need medically intense services, and that's what ICFs exist to do. They are not a relic. They are not outdated. They are very current and actually much more needed right now due to that aging population. My organization, Living Well Disability Services, has been in business for 50 years. We just finished celebrating our 50th anniversary. We were created by a group of families who took exception with the lack of options for their children in the early 70s. They were basically given 2 choices. Warehouse your kids on the fringes of society and leave them there. Maybe you'll get to visit. Or take them home, and we wish you the best of luck. There were no community supports. There were no curb cuts that we're used to now. There were no requirements for accessibility. And so those were the 2 options that families were given. The families who started Living Well took exception with that, as I imagine each of you would as well. So they created something that didn't exist, and that something was an ICF in West St. Paul, Marie Avenue, where we started our services, and we're still there. We're still very much loved and embraced by that community, and we contribute to that community as much as we take from it or receive from our partners. It just can't be, I guess, overstated how important it was for those families to create that and create a place where families and community were welcomed and embraced and encouraged to be, instead of sending people with disabilities out into the country, out into places that now serve as prisons or as other large institutional type of settings. We should all be proud of the fact that within the span of one lifetime, we've gone from warehousing people in that way to now serving people in their communities and embracing them, surrounding them with the resources that they deserve. So we should all be proud of that. But if we're proud of that, we should also be very concerned by the fact that we've not only plateaued in that progress, we've actually regressed. A lot of that growth and improvement is in our rearview mirror right now. and we need to do better for the folks that we serve. At the heart of that regression is the fact that people can no longer afford to be caregivers. It's a simple fact, $16 an hour. You can't live off of that. To make it worse, we're not even reimbursed enough to cover it. It's up to this group to do better than that. This is obviously the loss of staff and the fact that people can no longer afford to do it. It's had devastating impacts on the folks that we serve, because every person who leaves takes with them relationships, knowledge, and incredible care for the folks that they serve. People are not leaving because they want to. They're leaving because they have to. Despite having multiple jobs, they can no longer afford to be caregivers and work in our field. Quite frankly, some of the folks that we serve, while we rely on them, we recognize them as heroes during the pandemic. We recognize the incredible life-giving supports that they provided, and now we send them home to be on food support themselves. As they leave, providers basically have two options. Providers like Living Well have two options. We can close homes and take away options, take away choice for the folks that we serve, or, as Living Well has done, we can choose to lose money and hope that we'll have your support at some point. Our organization lost $2 million last year, over $2 million last year, paying overtime and paying temp services to just keep our homes afloat and to maintain the lives and expectations of the folks that we serve. We can't continue to do that, as I don't need to do the math for you, you get it. You've got a system in collapse, to be frank. You got to do something. Our proposal that we have in front of you today, it would install rate floors. The difference between the classifications, as Sarah mentioned, really has to do with people's ability to evacuate and is representative of the type of supports that they need. The floors of $300 and $400 a day are aimed at keeping providers really current with the world around us. In addition to staffing, as we've talked about a lot in this group, ICF rates are different than waiver rates in that they also cover food, soft goods, furniture, the home itself, and just about every other element of people's daily life, transportation and a number of other things. So for $300 a day, or right now significantly less than that in most of our homes, we need to cover all of those things. And to Senator Abeler's point, I don't know how people stay in business other than losing $2 million. Okay. So within the governor's budget, there's one rate floor. It's $260 a day. Our average right now is $292. So that element of the budget would not be beneficial for us. It would not change our reality at all, and that's true for the bulk of providers that are our peers. Also within the governor's budget is a strong investment in special education, which I absolutely support and celebrate, and I hope that that passes because kids in our school system need those supports. But if we value the first 15 years of people's education and the first 18 to 21 years of their lives, and we're willing to invest significantly in it, we need to also recognize providers who are serving people for the next 40 to 60 years of their lives. You got to invest in that as well. Just in closing, my organization is one of many within the industry, and as I said earlier, it's a system in collapse. Hundreds have already lost their homes and been told that their group homes are closing and they need to find another option. Hundreds more will also receive that same fate if we fail to act this session, not just in this bill, but others. Dozens are already being warehoused again in hospitals, waiting for placement because providers can't say yes. We don't have the people. Even if we have the houses, we can't say yes because we don't have the people. Today alone, Living Well has had to say no to 3 families who need customized supports or some other type of supports. And that is not an exceptional day. That's just another day. You've got to do better, and we got to do better fast. We don't have time for more studies, more research. You got to do something now. We need your help.
Mr. Gillespie, thank you. Thank you for your family's commitment. Thank you for your commitment. And I think Rod Carlson, is he going to speak? Rod, you going to say a few things? You want to maybe kind of give us just a validation of what your president and CEO has been talking about. If there's anything you can add to that, I appreciate that. And then we need to get to Senator Abeler and have a discussion about dispositions here. So,
Sure.
thanks.
I'll make it quick, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the people in our organization quickly.
Yeah, do you want to just give us, just for record, you've never been in front of us, so.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. For the record, my name is Rod Carlson, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Living Well Disability Services. And my major responsibility at Living Well is oversight and provision of services leading and supporting people to live their best possible lives. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about Senate File 756 and the help it would provide. I'm just going to go through this real quick. Little background, we serve 105 people across 16 ICF homes in 12 different communities throughout the greater metropolitan area. Most of the homes opened in the late 70s through the mid 80s, again, as a result of the closure of the state hospitals. I want to echo one thing that Tom said. Please note that I said homes. These are homes. These are homes for 105 people just in our organization, and hundreds of family members too that have been a part of these. Many of these people, for many, these are homes for many with significant needs, and it might be the only home they've ever known. In some cases, outside of their family home, many of these people might not have ever had the choice to pick the color of paint in their bedroom, or what to eat and when they eat, or in some cases might be the only safe place that they've ever lived in, and many came from those state institutions. The one thing I want to point out, and I'm going to jump ahead again, many of the people we're supporting are aging. One of the biggest positive changes that's occurred is that the people we serve now, they're living longer and healthier lives. Life expectancy for people with disabilities has nearly doubled in the last 35 years, and in many cases, they will and can expect to live the same as the rest of us as far as length. While that's remarkable, that presents some challenges. Along with that comes increased, we're seeing increased medical needs, needs for nursing, the need to modify environments with things like elevators and ceiling tracks and lift systems, and accessible vehicles, all of which are expected to come out of our rates, rates that no longer support those needs at all, those increasing needs of the people that we support. Rates I would add that even with the requested increases are measurably less than we're paying for daily nursing home rates. The final thing I just want to add quick is actually what I think is the most important thing, and it's been echoed here throughout, but we need support so we can afford to pay people a livable wage. You're going to hear that over and over and over, and I know it, but I see it every day, and I've been been at this organization 36 years, and I've never seen anything like it. It's disheartening and frankly disgusting, I think, in many ways, that people who take care of the most vulnerable people in our population make less than some of the people who work at fast food locations. No offense to people who do that. It's important, but I think it's long overdue that we support the most vulnerable among us. So, I can only implore you to support Senate File 756. The daily increases and the new rate floors, really, literally hundreds, if not thousands of people depend on decisions that are made this session. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson, and thank you for your 30-plus years of service in a home and community-based waivers, so appreciate that. Senator Abeler, any questions for, so this is the same thing that we have in, this is the same language, I better clarify myself, this is the same language that we have in Senate File 7, Senator Abeler, so.
Well, I think was the $50 there, so.
50.
Okay, so it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had forgotten, so.
No, that's okay. I forget.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if you can sense the desperation in the voices of our two testifiers. And so just to be fair, the governor gave us a nod. He created a floor of 260.
Correct.
Which would not affect Living Well. And then there's an annual 4% increase based in there. So at least there's been some notice, which I think is a great step forward from the previous governor's budget. So at that rate, it would then raise every boat by 2046 or something. So, but the longest step, Mr. Chair, the longest walk begins with the first step. So I think that we're getting some partnership here, and I think that the governor might actually help us building on that first step. So I hope we can get Senate File 7 or the likes thereof going. But I mean, I'm getting to hate this committee, Mr. Chair. I love the committee, I love the people, but these kind of stories aren't going away, and they're getting worse every year. Every year.
Yeah.
And so back when we were talking about families like this, we had testimony. I remember this one woman came forward, and she was 80.
Yeah.
And her son was 55. And she said, I don't mind spending my last years looking after my son, which wasn't her dream come true. But when I'm gone, who will look after him? And I never forgot that woman.
That's the same, people build, thank you for remembering that, Walgreens. Everybody highlighted Walgreens distribution centers. The vice president of operations built in his North Carolina or South Carolina. They decided to put this, and they wanted to create an inclusive culture, inclusive environment for hiring people with disabilities, right? And at the time, I don't know, it was a national NBC News. I mean, if you Google Walgreens and the story showed how you could integrate people with disabilities working in a place like Walgreens, especially their distribution center, right? They're worldwide. They have them all over the United States. And he set this program up there. 45% or 40% of the people that were working there were people that live with a disability, and utilized the strengths that each one had in doing their work. And they were absolutely operating at a 30% higher rate of getting orders out the door. They were more efficient than any other distribution center in the chain, right? And this person from Walgreens came to Minnesota and was speaking, and I'll never forget that same statement when the NBC News anchor person asked him, why? What drives you? Why are you doing this, right? Hence the thank you, Josh Berg, for reminding people we get to the why we do what we do, right? And he said this, Jim. He said, like most parents, you say, if I could live one day longer than my child, because his child is somebody, he has a lived experience, right? And he made that comment, and it was the exact same thing that this parent made. It's like, we have an opportunity to kind of change that, trajectory and perspective, and I think this is the committee to do it, But I appreciate your years of work on this stuff, and thank you, Mr. Carlson and Mr. Gillespie and Ms. Grafstrom, who is now not a constituent of mine anymore. I'm very jealous of that, Senator Abeler. Members, I think we're going to lay this one over, right, Senator Abeler, and then on Monday, and Mr. Carlson, I think you guys want to take, Monday we are going to have, the paid family leave is stopping to our committee, and I want us to stay focused on looking at 256B world or whatever that we operate in, and I know ARM has brought some questions to the table, and I think Mr. Carlson, if you guys take a look at the questions, what does that mean for the folks that you provide services for your employees, right? And I want us to focus on that, right? I mean, and hopefully that we'll have a pretty good discussion, and we'll say that too as the paid family medical leave bill is in front of us. But also, in our day programs, you have participants in day programs and participants that are getting W-2s from the vendor that they're providing, and the only way the vendor gets any money, right? Guess what? We're the ones who give them the money because we voted in, right? I mean, we only get their raises, and so just some questions that we're going to have on the table. So bring your questions on. If we could focus on what's important to us as a group, that would be great, and we'll have hopefully we'll have some good discussion on that and go forward. And people will hear from, I think, ARM and other providers are coming to really voice their joys, anticipations, concerns, happiness, anxieties, whatever it is. So does that make sense to people for Monday? Yeah. Senator Abeler.
Mr. Chair, is that Senate file what?
2.
Okay. And so actually, Mr. Chair, there may be some people watching this who are out doing the day-to-day work that
Senator Abeler, there's only 38 people now watching. For some reason, yes, I'm not going to be able to get more people watching than you ever had on
maybe
YouTube.
Better ties,
that's not
Mr.
fun.
Chair. That would maybe be something. But for those 38 people, if they don't all know what this, just just in just raw terms, the current provision is that there would be a fee and family leave fee, tax, whatever, it's given to every individual from 0.7% to 1.2 is the current version.
Correct.
And so that would be shared by the employer and the employee. In these cases, 100% paid for by the state and the feds.
Correct.
In these services. And so what will that impact? How are they going to pay for that is the question. And then another question is if the person is gone and it allows up to 12 weeks for some illness and up to 12 weeks for some other family emergencies. And if that happens, how does that affect their business and how do they pay for all that stuff? So, and I really appreciate you taking the bill on. And that's not meant to be a pejorative, but it's a question that we have to ask in a place where already they can't find staff and where they can't afford to pay the bills. So thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing that to come to us.
No, thank you, Senator Abeler. And I thought it was important because as we look at, the folks that are providing the services to our most vulnerable and the fact that, I don't know, there was $1.825 billion that is sitting in the, surplus that should have been spent by our friends at the Department of Human Services. And how vendors and how participants are paid. I mean, it has a unique thing, and I think that's a discussion that we have a right to have here in bringing ARM forward, and hopefully MOHAR, other providers will come and talk about what does this mean and what do we need to do, et cetera. So that's what my intention is, Monday. And maybe if we have some time, also I have a few policy bills that we might bring Senator members to look at helping connect with the House, but we'll deter with the other bodies. So with that, any questions, comments, anyone? No? Thank you, everybody, for hanging out, and thanks for being here. We are adjourned.